Okay. Hi, Sheon. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Yes, thank you so much, Amina, and
Over
thank
to
you all
you.
the speakers for joining the call. I'd like to start this conversation with a poll. Please just check your screen and participate very shortly. Yeah, Amina, can you confirm you can see the poll? Yes, thank you. We're
Unfortunately,
going
we
to run
cannot
this.
vote.
I know you can't. You don't need to vote. It's just for the participants. And that can really set us up. Yeah. We're going to run this for just 1 minute. So please, everyone, the call, attend the poll, please. We have just 40 seconds to go. 20 seconds to go. Please, if you're on the call, attend the poll. Yes, that's the end. Thank you for participating. Now, I'm showing the results, and that's where we would like to start this conversation. Beyond what we are used to, every time we have an event that brings fintech startups together, the bonding issue has always been compliance. It has always been investment, funding. But of course, the poll has shown that much more than that, we need to then begin to look at most startup focus on what to take to market, which is in terms of products. You can see from the poll as well, most viable product is key. But now we are going to then see how do you go to market and keep yourself in the market and build leadership. And that's what we are looking at this afternoon, rethinking customer experience in fintech ecosystem. And this program is brought to you as a partnership between FintechNGR and Zest Payments. And we are glad to have a very experienced set of speakers on the call. We have Bemi, Idowu. Bemi is the CEO, from of Talking Drum. And we have quite a number of experienced speakers on the call that are going to really, really make your time with us this afternoon worthwhile. We just enjoy you to, concentrate on the call, participate actively, and really get to learn how you can further scale your customer experience journey. And who knows, at the end of this call, you will definitely go with strategies to build your feasibility even bigger. Thank you for joining us. My name is Sean from FintechNGR. I'll give the floor back to Amina Abba. Thank you, Amina.
Thank you very much, Sheon. Thank you. One thing you said, one statement you made now struck me. You said, how do you go to the market and stay in the market? Very striking. It's not enough to go to the market. How do you remain relevant? How do you stay in the market? And customers are important. Customers are the crux of every business. For me, who sits in risk, for instance, all you require is one bad customer experience. Your reputation that you have built for such a long time just comes crumbling, and then the business goes down. So really, our customers are, the bane of the existence of every organization. You have introduced the panelists, so we'll dive straight into having very meaningful conversations surrounding today's topic, which is driving growth with innovation in customer experience. As Sheung said, this has been put together by the FinTech Association of Nigeria. So I have five amazing speakers, very intelligent, I'm looking forward to learning from them as well. I would introduce in no particular order Mr. Henry Obiekea, who is the Managing Director of FairMoney. I would also like to introduce Mr. Bemi Idowu, who is the CEO of Talking Drum Communications. I would also like to introduce Emmanuel Idoko, who's the Director of Markets and Business Development for Ernst Young Nigeria. I would also like to introduce Nimide Fashion, who's the Vice President for Client Experience for Zest. Finally, certainly not the least, is Eno Ekanem, who's the Lead Solutions Architect for Zest. Yes, so now I have introduced my panelists to you. They're very modest people, so they don't want me to read a long dossier. They are who they say they are. So there's no point, they are who they say they are, movers and shakers in this industry. I am looking forward to today's session, and I'm sure we'll have a great time. I would begin with Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry Obiekea of FairMoney. Hi, Mr. Henry. How are you today? Can I just call you Henry? Is that okay?
That is perfect. I prefer that.
Mm.
And
Thank you very much.
as you can see, I'm not too old, right? So the
No, you're not.
Mr. makes me older than my age. All right.
Fantastic. That works for me too. Thank you very much, Henry. Okay, so we just go straight to the point. I see what you have done with FairMoney. Well done. My first question would be on alternative data, away from traditional data. How has alternative data changed the game in making credit decisioning for the underbanked? That would be my first question to you, since I see that part of what FairMoney is doing is reaching out to the underbanked. Over to you, Henry, for 3 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. I will try to I will try to keep it within time, but I also just would like to report myself before I start. I tend to talk a lot, like to this that. But I think to truly answer that question, just very quickly, let's paint a picture of how people used to access credit previously, right? So if you think back 10 years, not even too far back, think back 10 years, 10, 15 years, for you to access a loan as a consumer in Nigeria, you need to go to your bank, you open a bank account with the bank, have some transaction history with the bank. They will ask you for a lot of data, a lot of information, a lot of documents. They'll want you to provide the information of where your grandmother sleeps, what types of property she has or your grandfather has, and things like that, right? But as time evolved, it was very clear that a lot of people were excluded from getting that access to credit. And so, what companies like FairMoney have done, right, looking at that gap and opportunity, is to say how do we automate the process and ensure that we are able to reach a large amount of people very, very quickly, right? And in essence, we look at what the traditional banks, with the traditional data we're trying to do. And it's basically, at the end of the day, it comes to two things. They're trying to see what's the capacity to repay if I give you a facility, what's the capacity to repay, and then if I give you that capacity, what's the willingness to pay? So capacity and willingness, and so you can have different things, 5 C's of credit and all. At the end of the day, it boils down to those two things. And so what we try to replicate rather, using data and the automation that we've come up with is how can we go ahead and check a particular customer using the data that we have, whether it's from the mobile phones, whether it's from telco data, whether it's connections to banks and other things, and whether it's some declarative data. So how can we look at those data and analyze it and use it to come up with a very quick decision-making process? It's when within less than 5 minutes, we're able to decide if this customer, the level of risk of a particular customer, and say, okay, because of this risk level of the customer, we indeed can give you a facility of 10,000 naira, for example, versus the facility of 50,000 naira, for example, if we consider you a low risk customer. So I think because we are able to do that using technology, we've been able to very quickly grow and reach a broad segment of the market, which hitherto did not have access to credit. And I'll give you a very simple data point. One of the things that we've seen over the last few years that we've been doing this is that over 50% of the customers that come into our ecosystem and get a loan, right, did not have credit history with any of the credit bureaus. And what that means in essence is that these people, at the time of us extending the facility to them, right, they did not have any credit from a formal institution, right, in Nigeria, right? So we are the first entry point into that. And what this helps just sort of like helps us do in general is that now that they've come in and they've taken the facility from us, we share their details with credit bureau. They are beginning to build a credit history that helps them in getting a new loan where they need it and getting access, right? So for us, I think back to the original question, I mean, I think it's a game changer. And because we've been able to leverage this, we've also been able to grow very, very quickly and to the point where if you look at the data that you have in terms of number of facilities dispersed, FairMoney would rank amongst the top 5 across the financial services industry, depending on whichever data or platform you look at, right? So I think for us it's important, and we think that with the alternative data and a lot of the machine learning and decision making that we're having, we can continue to scale and improve the access to credit, and as well help the underbanked section of the economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Henry. Thank you. Truly right about looking at capacity to repay and willingness to pay. That's what you talked about. But sometimes when I look at people who do the kind of business you do, I worry about your bottom. I work in the traditional bank, so I understand the challenges with people not even when they're willing to pay, when they can pay, they don't want to pay, But well done, well done. Thank you very much for that insight into this topic. I'll come back to you for more. Thank you for sharing with us. I would move on now to Mr. Bemi, who's the CEO for Talking Drum Communications. Okay. Okay. So, Mr. Idowu, sorry. Can I call you Bemi? Is that okay?
Bemi's fine. Bemi's fine. I just put my phone on my tag, so
Because
Bemi's fine.
okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you. You often say storytelling is core to customer experience. Can you give us an example where it transformed customer outcomes?
Yeah,
One
sure.
practical examples now.
Yes, so it's great. So, and thanks for having me here. Before I give my example, one of the things that I think is important to establish before we start is that quite often when we think about customer experience, people often think of it from a reactive point of view rather than from a proactive point of view. And what that means is typically people will, so to say, if X happens, what do we do? Or if Y happens, what do we do? But that is often not the most productive and most profitable way of managing customer experience, because you are leaving yourself at the mercy of forces that you can't control. Where the process that we've seen from the experience I've had working with various companies is you're able to take a proactive approach where you set out what you want the customer journey to look like, and you then chart that journey in terms of how you engage with customers on that journey, whether your customers are everyday consumers on the streets or businesses that you're selling into. So I'll give an example. One of my favorite companies at the moment is Chowdeck, that we all know. Their rise from a couple of years back to where they are now is nothing short of phenomenal. They're not the first to try and do what they did, but it's a few things that they struck and they got very right that's helped them on this journey. First thing is having a fantastic product that works really well. That's always foundational. But if you also look at the stories that they tell, if you then marry that with the points I made previously about being intentional, so they're not waiting until something goes wrong. They've identified a particular journey they want to take their customers on, and they've aligned the stories they're telling about themselves on that journey. So what you then get is you're more likely to get positive outcomes because you are shaping. So maybe a simpler way to put it is to say customer experience management. Yes, service is a big part of it, and doing work is a big part of it. But a significant chunk of that journey is really about perception management, whether before or after something happens. So the stories you tell about the work you're doing, the stories you tell about the people you're working with, that gives you so much collateral. That gives you so much that you can work with in terms of acquiring and retaining customers, even going after things like crisis management. Because again, crises are things that we often look at and say, okay, when X happens, then we do Y. But in many cases, the most productive thing to do is to navigate your almost like the best way to deal with a crisis is to avoid it happening at all. And the stories you tell, obviously, it's not a silver bullet that kills everything, but the perception you form around who you are, the work you do, the people you serve, it goes a long way because it gives you almost like a bit of a cushion in a way when crisis happens. It gives you some credits in the bank with your customers because your customers know you, they love you. So if something goes wrong, there's something that you can draw from. But if you're not either you're not telling good stories or you're not telling stories at all, when things eventually go wrong, all of us on this conversation, we know that we've been in the game long enough so that things will go wrong from time to time. So that is just a fact of life. But when you have enough collateral, when you have enough cushion, you're able to draw on that cushion to help you minimize the danger and then shepherd things back onto the right direction. So like I said, like it's not just about solving problems, it's about creating positive perfections that can lead to long-term success for your business. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. I like the fact that you talked about the fact that service is huge, but perception management is key, you know. So even when push comes to shove, your people can say, this organization is not usually like this. This is a one-off. You then see your clients speaking for you. And I mean, I see that happen a lot. I mean, take it down to something very basic. There's a supermarket I like to go to. Sometimes they don't, in fact, right now it's actually the air conditioning is not great. But once you get in from there, the first person says hello to you. Because I work hard for my money. I do not want to go and spend my money somewhere where people are not empathetic, people do not care. You know, you just walk around, it just looks like that's not how I like to shop. Some people do not mind, but I mind, you know. And so even now, when I took my friend there last week and she said, oh, I mean, this place is so hot, I'm not going to come. I said, but where else would you find this kind of customer service around here? I was sweating. But I was making a case for that organization because they had some customer credit, like you said, you know, and so they were drawing from their customer credit with me. So thank you very much for sharing that.
Absolutely.
I hope that people on the call are taking notes because I am definitely taking notes. Thank you very much. Thank you. I would move on now to Emmanuel. Emmanuel Idoko. Okay, Emmanuel. AI is like, well, it's not even the new buzzword. It's old now in the game, but it looks like AI has come to stay. You know, what role does AI and data play in shaping a truly strategic customer experience?
Thank you very much, Amina. Let me start by talking about the role of AI. So, in the digital landscape that we navigate today, data, as they said, is like gold. So it is incredibly valuable. When we combine this data with AI, we unlock a treasure of insights that can transform customer experience. At Ernst & Young, where I work, we've seen firsthand how leveraging data analytics can lead to remarkable outcomes. For instance, our customer experience practice utilizes advanced data analytics to help clients understand their customers better. So by analyzing interactions, we can identify the pain points and opportunities for personalization, thereby leading to enhanced customer satisfaction. So when we combine this data with AI, we unlock a treasure of insights that can transform customer experiences. So by implementing AI-driven analytics, we help them create personalized shopping experience that increases customer engagement. So imagine walking into a store, as you mentioned, the supermarket, where the staff knows your preferences and can recommend products tailored just for you. That's the power of AI in action. So small businesses can think of AI and data as their secret weapon. So imagine that you run a cozy coffee shop, maybe in VI or Ikoyi, and by using simple data tool, you can track, which drinks are flying off the shelf and which ones are gathering dust. This way you can promote, your bestsellers and even, create a drink of the month special. So at Ernst & Young, we've helped businesses and even retailers, use customer data to personalize their marketing. For instance, if a customer frequently buys something like, let me use tiger nut milk, from you, why not send them a special offer on tiger nut milk lettuce? It's like saying, hey, we know you love this, Plus, there are affordable AI tools that can help us, set up chatbots, for, our websites. And as we know, these chatbots, answer customers' questions, 24 hours 7. It is all about making your customers feel special and understood. So it doesn't have to, break the bank to have an AI that can, play a good role in shaping, strategic customer experience.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you. So yes, and then personalized shopping experience. I particularly love it. And if you appeal to, I would like to lend my voice to that. If you appeal to the female segment of society that I proudly represent, this is key. I see the look on Emmanuel's face. So there's this brand, they're not very pricey, but I like Zephans. I like some of their outfits. So one day I shopped in the cart, I shopped and slept off. By morning, when I was checking my emails, I saw a very nice email, very catchy. I wish I could read it. He said, "Hi, Amina. We noticed that you left some things in your cart. Did you find them interesting? Your stuff is still in the cart. We're waiting." Should I tell you, I went back there. So they said, I didn't have to go back to the site, log in, start checking. I just one click on that very nice email they sent me. And then I went and I just bought the stuff. Duolingo as well. Sometimes I feel so sorry. It keeps coming. I mean, a constant reminder. You said you were going to learn Chinese today. You're not learning. Please, can you come back? We've missed you. All those sort of catchy things, personalized experiences. And like you said, maybe very cheap AI is doing it, but I don't care. I just feel good. I feel good about the experience that I'm getting, and I'm okay. So thank you very much for that. Thank you. I will now move on to Nimide. Nimide, what does it mean to design for inclusion in fintech, and how does that drive growth?
Okay, thank you, Amina, and thank you everyone for joining. I'll start by saying that inclusion really begins with understanding the real life constraints of the customers that you intend to serve. Not just about doing social good, because the definitions that most people tout is very limiting to achieving SDG goals and serving the underbanked. And while that is valid, but inclusivity in itself in design starts from even just your onboarding process. And you're not just doing social good, like I said, you're making smart business move, because what you're doing is addressing all of the structural barriers to access of your platform, both geographically, but also even in the platform in itself, right? It drives growth because it opens doors to new users, building long-term loyalty if you hack it, and basically enables you to scale in high potential and high volume markets. One of the ways that fintechs can, adopt inclusivity in their approach to design is one by simplified user experience. I think it was Henry at the beginning was speaking about just removing the jargon at onboarding, right? Reducing the step to access credit, reducing the steps to access simple infrastructure that you've put in place, and basically making interfaces very intuitive for any type of user, both the large corporates and the user on the street that is just trying to move money from point A to point B. And it goes into just flexibility in the onboarding. Do you have tiered KYC in your system? One of the ways that we've solved for it, for instance, at Zest, is that at onboarding, we've stratified the segments. So we understand that some people have businesses, side hustles, but not necessarily all the components that will make them registered business. So we call them starter. And we've defined the KYC requirements for the starter business to, essentially ensure that they are included in the solutions that, they can access on Zest platform. And then for the registered business, that's also defined to cater to what we know that a typical registered business would have across board. And even in terms of just kicking off on the platform, you are able to just sign up your profile, and before you complete your compliance, you're able to see just all of the benefits that you get by tapping in without any barrier. And so that's inclusivity in itself in design, not just in the penetration or market efforts. And it's also even just building transparency around your flows, building transparency in your messaging. I think it was Bemi that spoke about intuitive messaging just before crisis. How have you spoken about your platforms? How have you spoken about your solutions? How have you ensured that even just by the posturing, your brand posturing, people can relate to you on a very, very human basis? They can act, they've put a pedestal for you, and consistency across even just your touch points in enabling them to form the narratives that you want them to have of you. In terms of just also just access to distribution, ensuring then we are going into market then, ensuring that your platforms are reaching the right network is partnerships with agent networks to sort of just bridge the last mile gap in access, right? So if you also think about inclusivity, you realize that it is in the care. There's a popular quote that I've seen somewhere. I can't remember who said it, but it basically said that people ignore designs that ignore them. So at the heart of inclusivity in itself, especially in design, is the empathy. Who are your markets? Who are your customers? How are they using? What are the critical pain points that they have? Either access pain points or just operational pain points. For instance, we have customization at the core of what we do at Zest, because we realize that a lot of operations differ. They vary basically because of the sectors that you're in. So what our retails will collect will be slightly different from how a player in the energy sector would collect, and also slightly different from how a player in ports, for instance, logistics, freight movements would collect. So we've said that, okay, access to entry might be similar and of course consistent, but in terms of just customization to enable them really address their operational pain points, we then make it flexible enough. So rejigging efforts, rejigging collection routing, introducing, layering on features that enables one customer to collect just slightly different from how another person collects. That's inclusivity in the design framework platform. But also in terms of just the access to the, just getting started. Like I said earlier, we've stratified it along starter businesses with minimum requirements, registered businesses with all the requirements like your CAC documents and all of that, and also NGOs with the requirements that pertains to that. So I think that inclusivity in itself, is really about empathy, is meeting the customers where they are, knowing who they are, understanding how they want to interact with your platform, and then designing with all of those elements in mind. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Nimide. Thank you. Thank you. It looks like these days it's not just throw it out there for the customers to buy or just throw it out there. Like I like what you said. You said people ignore designs that ignore them. I think that's very valid. If I feel that what you offer does not suit my need, I'll move on to the next one. Or it's too difficult. You might even be great at what you do, but like you said, user simplification, simplified user experience is very important. If I'm beginning and at the beginning I'm already experiencing problems, probably will not get to the end to see how great what you have provided is. I probably just move on to the next platform, who might not be as good as you are, but I mean, my beginning was not great. They say customer is king in these things. How true. I would now move on to Eno. Hi, Eno. Okay. From your own perspective and what you do, what does a seamless experience mean from a tech architecture perspective? So break it down for us from that back end space. What does it mean?
All right, so I'll try and keep it within 3 minutes. So for technology, when people mention seamlessness, it's like a word that people throw around a lot, especially when they talk about customer experience conversations. But honestly, in technology, seamlessness means an engineered effort to either improve or to sustain customers' perceived experience on a platform. So the bottom line is it is not an accident. It doesn't come by luck. At its core, seamlessness in architecture is about removing visible or invisible frictions across systems. So whether it's within your platform, whether it's in user touch points, I know Ben talked about how he remembers or experiences a different platform, and how they improve customer experience for their users. And that's the kind of experience that people broadcast. The good news about how they use the technology, not particularly about the different elements of the technology, but how all these different elements come together to work for the customer. So for example, for us in fintech, this means designing systems where identity verification, payment processing, customer onboarding, and support flows all feel like they are part of one uninterrupted experience, even though they may involve multiple third-party services, internal platforms, and cloud resources. So for we in Zest, for example, we redesigned onboarding pipeline to unify KYB expectations, to unify our account setup, to capture user preferences into a single modular flow, where each module, even though it's autonomous, we can upgrade, we can roll back, we can conduct tests without breaking the overall flow. While to the customer, it just feels like a quick, intuitive experience. So the summary is, even though under the hood, you are dealing with different technology decisions that may be complex, you have to understand that all this is an orchestrated dance of different services that must still align to a seamless architecture for the customer.
Thank you very much, Ernst. And thank you. I particularly took note of one statement you made. You said seamlessness is not an accident. It means it's deliberate. It's something that you have to work towards. It doesn't just happen. And what I hear you say is perhaps where you're having some back-end conversations or trying to fix issues, it should not be a pain area for the customer. Did I get that correctly? Because what the client wants is some sort of seamless experience. And I say it all the time too, even where we do business. If you have plans to then do something and you think that it will disrupt the customer's flow, I mean, is it not cheaper for you to just tell the client that this is going to go on, show some sort of empathy. And empathy is key, in how we do business. Empathy is so important. Um, if every customer was probably thinking like me, some people will probably not get some business done because empathy is so important for me. It's big. It's big. Thank you very much, Eno. Thank you for bringing that out. Mr. Henry, I will come back to you now, but this time around it will be 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we want to. I mean, I like what you said at the beginning when we started the conversations around making credit decisions for the underbanked using alternative data. What are some practical ways you have balanced automation with the human touch in your customer journey? Because, say for instance, where I work, HR is slowly being eroded. HR that we were used to. This is a large group of 30 people. You move around, you have a problem, you sit down, they listen to you. But now you go to ask AI, ask HR, you raise a problem ticket for some of these issues. Things are changing. But at the same time, there are still some core elements that have to continue to stay. You have to continually show empathy. There has to still be that human touch. So what are some of the practical ways you have balanced automation with a human touch in your customer journey?
Okay, thank you very much. I think that's a good question. I'll say from the way we look at it, we think of always having a balance. First thing is, as much as possible, we want to reduce the amount of or the quantum of interaction, right, that the customer needs to have with us, because obviously we are a digital bank per se, and we want the communication and customer complaints to be able to be automated as much as possible, right? But there are certain cases or instances where this is not fully practical, right? And so it's now a question of understanding those items and other areas and seeing ways to improve upon it. And that's for us why it is super important to listen to the customers, right? And so what we try to do as much as possible is on a periodic basis, we are looking at customer complaints, looking specifically at the customer complaints ticket, right? What are the customer complaining about? What are the items that we need, the issues we need to solve for them, and as much as possible, where we can automate that particular the solution that the customers need, we go ahead and we do that, and we create, so that we ensure that we're creating that seamless process for the customer, right? And then in some instances where we know that you need to escalate certain things to an individual, a human person to resolve, right? So you go ahead and do that. So for us, it's having that balance. It's having that balance where we can automate the solutions that we think customers need for certain types of problems, right? And then where there is a need for human intervention, we then go ahead and do that. But as much as possible, as time goes on, we want a situation where we are automating a lot of the resolutions, right? So that, because what that does is it helps us save time in responding to the customer's needs. It also helps us manage costs, right? From company point of view, right? So you don't need to hire additional people to solve those particular problems, right? So I think for us it's that simple. Another example really is something that I think is super important, and a lot of people have talked about KYC and tiering and things like that. One of the things that the CBN will require from banks is at a certain tier, you need to conduct an address verification for your customer, right? And then what we've seen now is, well, working with certain third parties and certain people, you're able to automate that process, right? And something that would have taken you 7 days or 3 days or 2 days to do, you can do it in a shorter period, right? And in certain instances where that automation doesn't work, because you always have those edge cases, then you can go back and fall back on the manual process that you used to rely on before. So it's about understanding where you have that match, that balance, right, and making the right decision for the company. I hope that was more than 2 minutes, Azina.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I would move on for because of time, I'll move on quickly to Bemi. Here we're still talking about customer experience, sorry, through storytelling and empathy. So how can brands bridge the empathy gap and make communication feel more human?
Yes, thanks for the question. So one of the things I like to say when I have these kind of conversations is quite often, as people that run businesses, we often think of our customers in abstract terms. We think of them as almost like numbers and figures and stuff out there. But if you think that whether you're a B2B company or a consumer-facing company, your end consumer is a human being that has certain preferences, certain realities in their life. So for example, if your customer is a 20-year-old man that lives on the mainland in Lagos, or if your customer is a 45-year-old mother of three that lives in Ibadan, you're having two very different conversations with those guys. So if you don't say the right thing to the right person, you could have the right value to offer them, but if the conversation you're having with them is not the right conversation, everything can just fly over their head. So everything starts from seeing your customer as a human being, understand their reality, understand their needs, their wants. I mean, have you spoken about your deep desire for empathy, how empathy is a big thing for you. And then there's lots of research that's been done in terms of understanding people in different categories and said, okay, this person is likely to value this thing, or because of this person's reality, this is what they want. This person wants speed, this person wants depth, this person wants that. If you're able to go through that level of detail to build the right personas, a lot of people don't understand personas. A lot of work we've done about personas, but if you do it properly, what that gives you, it gives you a better and more effective hit rate in terms of not just putting things out there, or make sure what you put out there sticks, right? And again, if you go back to what I mentioned before in terms of proactive customer experience management, this is not a case of, or when something goes wrong. This is a case of we are trying to achieve a particular outcome with this customer, whether it's to bring them on board, whether it's to get them to buy more services or do something different, whatever it is you're trying to get them to do, you're driving at a very particular outcome. So if you go that, if you understand who they are, if you understand what they need, if you understand that, okay, this person is very likely to have X amount of disposable income, or this person is very likely to have X amount of desires, you can then tailor your comms. You can then sort of kind of infuse certain kind of key messages and key phrases and talk about different things. So the person that wants depth, they hear depth. The person that wants speed, they hear speed. The person that wants this, they hear. So you've invested time. And it's not just about, there's a lot of technology solutions I know that can support you on this journey in terms of doing these things. But the other side is you have to invest in the right people as well, because technology can do a lot, but sometimes the people that you have in the room dictate how effectively they can use that technology. So who do you have in the room when it comes to your storytelling? Who do you have in the room? Who's the expert in the room? It's not a matter of whether you do it yourself or you outsource it to a third party, but do you have the right people in the room that can look at something and say, all right, okay, this is how we split our target audience, this is how we speak to these people, and how do they measure it, evaluate it, and make sure they continue to get profitable results. So going back to the question about empathy, I think it goes back to that, because once you miss that initial thing of seeing them as a human being, everything else is irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. Because if you don't see them as a human being and you just see them as some random person out there that you're just putting stuff out there that you hope lands on, then you might as well not bother. Just don't do any comms at all to them, because it's not gonna be profitable.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm looking at time. I'm not sure if I'll be able to go around the room again to ask specific questions, but there's an opportunity. There's an interactive set. We will go right into the interactive session where we would all, we all have experiences, and even in these conversations, we have discussed best practices that we have used. Henry has mentioned some instances. Nimide has given some as well. Eno has given us into an insight into what Zest does in managing, architecture in solving for customer issues. But we would now, I don't know if at this point, I can see that the chat room is buzzing for questions and answers. I don't know if we should dive straight into the questions and answers with the audience. Maybe we should do that first. I will just go scroll all the way up and I will take the questions from the beginning. If it's directed at you, I will let you know. Okay, so the first question here is from, 1 second. Aha. He says, Sunday Ioha says, how can AI sell the financial products? How can AI sell the financial products? I don't know if you would like to. Maybe we'll come back to that. Maybe he would unmute, and then is anyone in the room able to answer that question, or would you require some more clarification as to specifics before you can answer? That's what I think. One here, we'll move on to the next one, and then Sunday, if you can hear me, could you explain further in the chat room, and I'll come back and take your question. Ioana Zemo says, good day, our esteemed facilitators and other participants. My question is directed to FairMoney CEO. Henry, you see, you have a question directed at you. What consideration or provision do you have for startups who don't have capital, but want to start a short-let apartment or a retail supermarket with fintech infrastructure you have put in place? That's for you to answer, though. It's one of the days when I'm happy I'm a moderator. Over to you, please.
Interesting. Thank you very much. I'll just say, so generally, thank you very much for that question. Generally, we have products, credit products tailored to consumers as well as tailored to SMEs and small businesses. And within also a specific range. We also have obligor limits that we need to that we keep in mind in making those decisions, right? So I'll think, so if you're asking specifically on how to get the facility from FairMoney for a business, I think you can reach out to help@fairmoney.ng. And then we can start the conversation there. But generally, we have products that apply to consumers and products that apply to businesses as well. For a pure startup, and this is just trying to be transparent. For a pure startup, it's something that on a case-by-case basis we may look at, right? But the types of SME lending that we do now is cash flow based, and working capital type blending, right? And so I think those are products that we have now. So whenever I see that you have that before within that framework, I'm happy to engage and discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dominic says some problem resolutions rely solely on the bank of questions rather than rely on AI to analyze the data itself via LLM. I find the data more friendly. Thanks so much, Idowu. The reality can vary significantly even when the right value is delivered. The context is very important for meaning and conversation. I think that's just a comment. Abimbola Shotunde says, he's directing this question to you, Bemi. He says, onboarding is often a make or break moment in the customer journey. How can organizations use technology and storytelling together to make that experience more frictionless and memorable? I co-ask actually.
No, it's not amazing. I think the short answer, in my opinion, to that question is making sure that the services you offer and the stories you are telling align. Because I've seen so many cases where companies are telling stories about A, and you go to their website and you see one, two, three. It's you again, once you lose them at that point, then you're creating problems for yourself. So one of the things that we advise when we work with our clients at Talking Drum is making sure that we have a very clear understanding of what the business is actually trying to achieve. What products do you want to sell? What are your priority products or priority services? Because that then feeds into the stories that we advise our clients to tell. Because once there's an alignment in the reality of the products that are being created and why they're being created and the stories that are being told about that product, almost like the collective momentum of everything working together kind of pushes things in the right direction. But if there's a disconnect somewhere in the middle, what you end up finding is these guys are working hard over here and these guys are working hard over here, but because it's not working together, it's just not working. So I think the from a storytelling perspective, I think once you have alignment on that front, you typically get some momentum, and it kind of just means people go on the website and the onboarding process, because what they expect is what they find. So it's a relatively straightforward process at that point.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Henry, looks like the more you give, the more you receive. You have another question directed at you. Are you saying that FairMoney does venture funding? Quick answer.
No, we don't. No, we
Okay.
don't.
Dominic, there you have your answer. He says no. Toluwalogo Oshinobi says, thanks to Idowu, we need to design our products, processes, comms, etc. from the customer's lens. Empathy is simply non-negotiable. I totally agree with you. You couldn't have said it better. Moses Oluwatobi says, can Eno please explain more on how customizable payment solutions have helped businesses scale? So Eno, that's for you.
Okay, so the most important thing is understanding what the end goal is for businesses, is either to generate profits or to provide value to customers. And when you bring in the aspect of customizable payment solutions, you are thinking about how to elevate the customer experience to have your customers or anyone within their circle make payments and collect payments easily. So for Zest, for example, we have a flagship product that we call our payment gateway. For us, it's not just a piece of infrastructure, it's a critical moment of trust. If a customer hits pay and it fails, that failure doesn't just cost us revenue, it also costs us credibility. So what we ensure is we try to treat every payment touch point as a brand interaction. That means the infrastructure has to be fast, has to be transparent, has to be trustworthy. And what it also means is we also have to produce different options for customers. So enabling customers make payments via their cards or using bank transfers or using USSD. You want to ensure that regardless of the choice, is as seamless as possible to, like I said, get to the bottom line, which is to facilitate payments to boost business revenues and profits. So that's how customizable solutions can aid business goals for anyone.
Thank you very much, Eno. Thank you. I particularly, something you said struck me. It says every payment is a brand interaction. I totally agree. Totally agree. Totally. I can see Ido nodding his head. He agrees with me as well. Okay, Emmanuel Idoko, this question is for you from King. He says, in what ways are you leveraging AI or machine learning models, not only to personalize and upsell, but also to detect emerging fraud patterns in real time without degrading the user experience? Hi, Emmanuel. This question is directed to you. Okay, we'll come back to Emmanuel. As a fintech startup focused on lending, how do you deal with clients with capacity but lacks the willingness to pay? Who's going to take this one for us? How do you deal with clients with capacity but lack the willingness to pay? I think that would be Henry.
Yeah, I think those are the worst types of clients, right? And as much as possible, if you can run away from them, please do. Right. However, if you can't run away from them, in some cases, um, so if you're dealing with if if it's a traditional business, right, and you know very clearly that this customer has a consistent um history of non-repayment, then my advice to you is don't do it. If it is a business like a fintech lender, based lender, right, and it is your model that is determining the level of risk of a particular person, right? So what you want to do in essence is actually test if that model is correct with respect to that specific customer. And I'll give you a very simple example. I'm sorry if I talk a lot too much, right? So for instance, some of us will use certain data points like your SMS credit alert data to help determine the capacity to pay of someone, right? But if you're somebody that deletes your credit alert and debit alert, then automatically that information doesn't exist for us to run the check, right? And so we will automatically treat you as a high risk customer, right? But you may not be a high risk customer. You may just be an overly cautious customer. So what you could do is test that person with a small loan, right? And then try to see, okay, what's the person's behavior? Does the person repay? You test the person with another a higher value, but still small, right? And see if the person repays. And then by that, in that case, you are building your own data about that particular profile, right? And with that, it could be that the model, just because of the inputs, has not predicted that particular customer correctly. But if you are clear that this customer is a customer with a consistent history of non-repayment, I would say please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. There you have your answer. King Okeyemi, I understand Emmanuel had to urgently attend to something. I think you could send an email to the secretariat and he'll come back to you on the response. Or if we have some more time, someone else can look at that question for you. But you directed it directly to Emmanuel and I would like for him to respond to you. Okay, so I move on now. Okay, we have 1 more minute, but we have several questions on the chat. Sean, if it's okay, can we, and then of course to the participants, with your kind indulgence, can we extend this by another 10 minutes? I understand that it's okay, but I mean, it's only fair to ask. Can we extend this
No,
by
it's
10
all
minutes? Thank you very
it's all
much.
good if the speakers are okay with it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, Sunday Iyoha had asked the question earlier, and he says, what I was trying to say here is how can AI sales bank products and fintech generally? How can AI work in the banking sector? How can AI work in the banking sector? Oh, I missed the question. Olumide Uduola says, as a fintech startup focused on lending, okay, no, we've had that question. We've gone through that question. Are you actively exploring using AI in responding to clients at your customer service centers? What use cases are you exploring? So this will go to all of you in the room who are exploring AI in responding to clients. I know Emmanuel, when he was talking, actually mentioned that, talked about chatbots, talked about, how that people are beginning to leverage on AI. Henry also spoke about that. So I don't know if you want to have a go at this question. Or Nimide, do you want to help us answer this one?
All right, thanks, Amina. A very interesting question because I think in 2024, I think we launched our AI bot in partnership with Microsoft. And what it then did for us was it helped us streamline conversations, right, on the customer base. A customer lands on the chatbot, and we were able to, just first eliminate the need for human interactions in solving problems. Because what the AI does using the infrastructure, the infrastructure available to just provide all of the necessary answers, right, that the customer needs. But beyond that, because we understand that human behavior, people still want that layer of human interactions. What we then did was enable seamless connections to live agents, right? And not just in a way that it feels like there's a break in connection, because we realize that a lot of times when you're being handed over, the chatbot is not intuitive enough to know that this is a customer who has already asked this number of questions. What we did at the back end was then ensure that the information, the data, the behavior of the customer at the point of interacting with the AI was relevant and is provided to the live agent who is then picking it up. So that seamlessness in communication, in conversation, is across board. So you're picking it up, you already have all the information. You can tie this customer to, is this merchant transacting? When last did this merchant transact? When was the last time this merchant used our platforms? When was the last time this merchant, got a payment? What payment platforms do these merchants' customers prefer? I think I know I've spoken about our multi-rail concept. So either card, transfers. So we're able to then just narrow it deep down because we've unified our CRM, and AI is powering this unification. So from the platforms, whether you're getting to us on mobile or on the web or even on the dashboard in itself, you're able to ask questions and we're able to connect it to your activities, and we're able to then provide intuitive solutions, or just ensure that you leave satisfied at the end of the day. So AI is, and even just beyond the call center, I know that the question was really around call centers. There's also a lot of use cases for AI in financial institution, fraud monitoring, ensuring just the entrance into the transactions, ensuring that there's foolproof mitigation for fraud, ensuring that stolen credit cards do not find expressions in your platforms, and not able to pass transactions to your platforms at every step in the way. All of these methods, all of these things that we put in place are automated, fully powered by artificial intelligence.
Thank you
Yes.
very much, Nimide. Thank you. And in addition, you also have someone's trying to draw my attention. I'm not sure. I heard my name.
Yes, it's Emmanuel. So I would like to also piggyback off what Nimide said. So she talked about it from the view of the communication with customers, and also the other bits that was raised in the chat. I would like to also draw attention to other uses like real-time problem solving with AI. So I know we currently, what is mostly prevalent in different businesses is a reactive approach to customer issue resolution. So a customer informs you that something is broken and then you go fix it. What AI can also help with is once you start enabling it, is to also provide proactive issue resolutions. So once you plug in different AI models that are battle tested into your system, it will also help detect anomalies. So whether it is in user traffic, whether it's in payment processing, whether for e-commerce businesses, whether it is in orders that are placed, issue tickets, customer complaints, and all. If you train the AI according to the model, it can also help detect anomalies and auto resolve them. And if there's any issue with auto resolving them, it can also escalate intelligently. What you want to ensure is adopting AI should reduce manual interaction or manual friction to ensure that your business processes move much faster, provide more bespoke solutions to your customers. And at the end of the day, that will just serve as a foundation that you can now use to expand to other processes within your business. So that's another aspect that AI, once used effectively, can also enhance your business processes.
Thank you very much, Eno. And fraud detection as well. AI helps with customer behavior. If you see uncertain trends in a particular customer behavior, typically for manual in traditional banking in those days, I mean, how many would you remember if a customer is used to behaving in this sort of way? But with, I mean, AI now and with advanced technology, what happens is that the system spots these issues and then you can from back end know that there's a problem and try to fix it. Sometimes there's no problem, the customer is genuinely changing, and that's also okay because it then tells you, oh, this customer focus is no longer this way, it's now this way. So thank you very much. There are so many questions. I don't even know if. Okay, Henry, this is for you. Someone says you can refer venture requests to us to feed into our deal flow consideration. Dominic of Angelus Capital Partners. He's put his email address there for you. There's so many questions. Felix says, how have you been able to handle transaction monitoring and the issues of customers using fintech platforms for fraudulent transactions? This does not have to do with only FairMoney. 30 seconds for this response. 30 seconds, Henry. How have you been able to handle transaction monitoring and the issues of customers using fintech platforms for fraudulent transactions?
Okay, so this is something that's super important for CBN now, right? And the way you solve for this is implementing a fraud monitoring tool that works very well, has all the right alerts. I mean, I already talked about, I think, the behavioral aspect of fraud monitoring, right? So this is something that's critical, and CBN has been very quick to, okay, no, CBN has been, what's the word, has been quick to penalize um, 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 companies or institutions that have been found wanting recently on this aspect of fraud management and fraud monitoring. And we at FairMoney, we are very proud of the work that we have done in recent times. And there are lots of examples of use cases of how we have flagged certain issues that indeed are issues that have affected a few other institutions, right? That's because of our system, the systems that we have deployed and implemented, and the monitoring tools that we have, right? So we're very proud of the work that we have done here, but it's not something that can be done by one institution alone. There has to be a lot of collaboration between all institutions, right? The fintechs, the traditional banks, right? And the fraud. I think the fraud anti-fraud people are very related. All of them are more or less in some marriage by convenience to ensure that they're able to fight against this scourge that is really
Thank you.
targeting the financial services sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Henry. I knew you would do justice to that question. Thank you. So we will not take any more questions. I'll just try to read through the questions in the group. Someone says the digital lending space has experienced large number of customers relocating. What measures can growing up fintech companies adopt? Okay, so while you're pondering on who would answer that question, let me go to the next one. This will go to Eno, and then I'll come back to that question. With account takeovers and cyber crimes on the rise, what AI techniques, e.g. behavioral biometrics, anomaly detection, are most effective at spotting threats without disrupting the customer journey? Okay, so now I go back to the other question now, just so that it gives us some time to ruminate on the next one. Okay, so on the customers relocating.
I think on customers relocating, unfortunately, there's a risk that exists in Nigeria, both for whether it's you as a business person managing employees and they are relocating, or your customers are relocating. So it's something that everybody has to deal have to deal with, right? But if you look at it, Nigeria, you have 200 plus million people, right? If you look at the number of people relocating as a proportion of what you have, it's still small. So it's about creating value for the people that have not relocated. One, and also two, you also see people looking at that as also an opportunity and trying to create products for people that have relocated and giving them links between themselves there and the people in Nigeria. So it goes both ways. You can choose to also create solutions for the people that are relocating as well. In fact, you also have people that have built businesses on enabling people to relocate from Nigeria, right? So it's something that you just everybody needs to manage. Yeah.
Yeah, so Jackpot is an opportunity for new business. Jackpot that too. There are all sorts. Okay, so now, next question over to you. Now we're racing against time, actually.
Okay, yeah. So I'll try and make it very brief. So that's a very good question, especially in fintech, where the balance between security and seamless experience is razor thin. I'll just mention like four ways that this can be tackled. Fully understanding that this is an ever-evolving landscape. So the first bit is behavioral biometrics. What this does is it's about learning how a user interacts with their device. The touch points, that's where all the cyber crimes emanate from. Once you start leveraging AI, or AI develops to the point where it masters your interaction with your devices, you will start seeing things like swipe pattern recognition, typing rhythm recognition, basically a way to capture how you interact with your devices to ensure that you are the one that initiates transactions, and also to detect when someone else is trying to mimic you. Another bit can be anomaly detection with unsupervised learning. So what this means is you have the different AI models that learn from each other, where they basically learn what other models have picked up as patterns that they've recognized, whether it is in networks where threats have been detected, and then marrying it with your own AI model, informing your model that these are different patterns that have been detected, try to regulate against it. I know some fraud monitoring solutions have this federated learning system where they learn from community information, but AI now taking the lead on it, where you eliminate manual learnings, where AI basically learns from other AIs using the threat modelings that they've detected. And at the end of the day, all this, the expectation is all this would help keep up or even surpass the speed at which bad actors try to compromise systems or take advantage of compromised systems.
Thank you very much, Eno. Thank you. I would have to come to a hard stop at this time. It has been an extremely, extremely interesting session. I have learned so much. I have taken notes. I actually thought I would have an opportunity to go through some of the things that resonated deeply, but there will be no time for this. I would like to say thank you to our panelists. I'd like to say thank you to everyone, all the participants who joined in this interesting session. Please, if you have questions that have not been attended to, feel free to send your questions across. I would find a way to respond. We'll respond to every question that we receive. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I would now quickly hand over to Seun for his closing remarks, if he has any. Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me moderate this session. Thank you.
A very short closing remark is to thank all our speakers for doing absolute justice to the session. Obviously, we all saw that it was a very interactive one. So thanks to all of you. Thank you, Zest team, also for partnering with us on this. And I just want to mention that for those of you who attend the event who are not yet a member of FintechNGR, I think you're missing a lot. So we are dropping our details in the box. Please pick up and become a member so that you can enjoy all the goodies of being in our ecosystem. Quite a number of extremely impactful events are lined up already for the year. Nigeria FinTech Week is also coming up in October. It's a place you really want to be. So please explore being a member of the association and continue to learn, continue to transform your ecosystem. I mean, your businesses, and then, leverage all you have learned today to stay in there in the market and continue to scale within our market. Thank you, all of you speakers and participants. We hope you will enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Goodbye. Thank you.